This is T3 Raider Facts, and this is episode 19 of the T3 Raider Roots podcast covering the year 1973. As steamed as the Oakland Raiders organization was about the results of the 1972 divisional playoff game against Pittsburgh 2 days before Christmas, the organization's internal steam was turned on high just 2 months later when the three general partners, Al Davis, Wayne Valley, and Ed McGaugh, met to discuss a lawsuit brought by one of the Raiders' limited partners, Lou Baroro, over the clause that Al had added into his contract, which would pave the way for the general partners to buy out the limited partners as of January 1st, 1976. The clause had been part of Al's strategy to inundate Valley with actions taken by the limiteds, hoping that this might further drive a wedge between Valley and some of the same men who he had joined in railing against Davis. As the meeting began, Davis had an ally in Ed McGaugh. Whichever way Al was to vote, Ed would go along with him. So in the end analysis, it truly was 2 against 1, with Al pulling all the strings, as he was wont to do. Valley asked Commissioner Pete Rozelle to attend the meeting. He did, along with Jay Moyer, the NFL's legal counsel. But when the parties all arrived for the meeting, Valley unexpectedly and with a flourish pulled out of his briefcase a copy of a recent sporting news magazine that contained an article with information on Davis's new contract. "Is this true?" Valley reportedly screamed. Rozelle and Moyer were stunned at the unexpected drama that was unfolding among the partners of the Raiders organization. Caught slightly off guard, Davis admitted that it was true. Then Valley angrily responded, "How can you do this without me even being aware of it?" Al, now raising his voice, said, "I can do any damn thing I want. You knew about it, and I don't know what the hell is bugging you." "Well, I'm not going to go along with the contract," Valley said. He then railed at Ed McGaugh, accusing him of suddenly taking an interest in things that involved the operations of the team when he hadn't seemed to care too much previously. McGaugh then wanted to know why Valley was pulling this stunt in front of the commissioner. This was indeed more than Pete Rozelle had bargained for. He stopped the meeting and cleared the room. Valley, still angry, confronted McGaugh again and yelled, "Why the hell did you sign it? You never signed a effing contract in your life." McGaugh then informed Valley that if he hadn't signed, the Raiders would have probably lost Al Davis to another team. To try to appease the whole situation, Rozelle was going to try and mediate the dispute, but Valley would hear nothing of the sort. "This is between me and Davis," Valley said. But he had accomplished his main objective, which was to make a spectacle of his co-owner and a man whom he neither liked nor trusted. 5 weeks later, on April 2nd, 1973, at the NFL owners' meeting in Scottsdale, Arizona, Valley announced via press release that he was filing suit in California Superior Court against Davis, although the suit named both Davis and McGaugh. Calling the renewed contract onerous and unfair, he stressed the eventual consequence, turning over the life and future of the Oakland Raiders to Mr. Davis, making Al Davis synonymous with the Raider franchise, which he is not, at least according to Valley. In the lawsuit, Valley sought to rescind the contract and to have Al Davis removed as general partner in order to preserve the integrity of the Oakland Raiders. Valley continued on that he wanted Al out of the organization entirely because he is not fit to live with. Despite all the things that Valley both said and threatened, Davis emerged from the conference cool and with a smile, saying that he had no reason to fret. Al Davis was in control, and he knew it. And so it was back to football, with sights set on the 1973 season. But before the season even started, there was the draft to consider, and another opportunity for Al to do what he did best, scout and determine the best talent in the land and who among the best prospects would be the best fit for his Raiders team. With his first-round selection, Al shocked everyone when he selected a punter out of southern Mississippi, a man by the name of Ray Guy. Guy had led the nation in punting in 1972 and also played some safety. When Al saw Ray Guy kick, he saw kicks that would soar 60 yards in the air with almost unheard-of hang times, quick off the foot so the kicks wouldn't be blocked, and he saw a true weapon who could help flip the field position to better favor his own defense. As it turned out, Guy would lead the league in punting as a rookie, become an All-Pro for 6 straight seasons, nailed down the Raiders' punting job for 14 years, and helped them win 3 Super Bowls and stamp his own ticket to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He turned out to be a pretty decent first-round pick. In the second round, Davis added linebacker Monty Johnson from Nebraska, who went on to become a staple for many of the classic Raider teams throughout the 70s and into the 80s. By this time, Davis had accumulated lots of quality talent on both sides of the ball, and things were really starting to click for the Silver and Black. But Al continued to make moves within the framework of the roster, not all of which made his coach happy. John Madden was quite upset when right before the start of the season, Al traded away popular and effective tight end Raymond Chester to the Baltimore Colts for defensive end Bubba Smith. Years earlier, when the Chiefs' Buck Buchanan had ravaged the Raiders' offensive line and raided their backfield consistently, Davis had drafted Gene Upshaw, with the sole purpose being to neutralize Buchanan. Then, when Bubba Smith had hurt the Raiders in the 1970 AFC Championship game, Al made the trade for offensive lineman Bob Boomer Brown to nullify Bubba. Now, in 1973, he just went out and got Bubba. But the massive defensive end was coming off knee surgery, and he ended up being benched after just 3 games. Not all of Davis's ventures panned out. This was one that did not. In the offseason of 1973, before training camp started in Santa Rosa, the Raiders and Rams played a charity basketball game. The halftime entertainment featured a tricycle race between Rams linebacker Isaiah Robertson and Raiders linebacker Phil Villapiano. Phil won the race, and his prize was an air hockey table. He brought the table with him to training camp, and the players practiced on it all throughout camp, leading up to a culminating air hockey tournament toward the end of training camp. Villapiano and his roommate Mike Ciani put together the tournament along with a set of rules. The most important rule, rule number 30, was something that all the players took to heart and became the team's mantra going forward. The rule plainly stated that cheating is highly encouraged. Now, the quarterback carousel was a sticky wicket for the Raiders in 1973. The year before, 1972, Madden had started Ken Stabler in the first game of the season, but he threw 3 interceptions in the first half against the Pittsburgh Steelers and ended up being benched. Then, Darryl LaMonica, his other starter, had a big game failure in the playoffs against those same Steelers, and Stabler came in to rally the team, a game the Raiders would have won if not for the Immaculate Reception. So in 1973, the challenge began in Minnesota against the eventual NFC champions, the Minnesota Vikings. Darryl LaMonica was the opening day starter. He cranked up the offense, picking up 353 yards in passing, with 6 of his targets going to Mike Ciani. Ray Guy marked his professional punting debut with a 50-yard average. And George Atkinson proved some electricity with a 63-yard punt return for a touchdown, which gave the Raiders a 13-10 lead at halftime. But Viking quarterback Fran Tarkenton and eventual Rookie of the Year running back Chuck Foreman spearheaded a 24-16 win over the Silver and Black. In Week 2, the Raiders had a home game, but it was played at nearby California Memorial Stadium in Berkeley against the defending world champion Miami Dolphins, who brought an 18-game winning streak into Northern California. Before a crowd of over 74,000 fans, the Raiders played tough defense and a ball-controlling offense that put the Raiders into scoring position 4 times. And all 4 times, veteran George Blanda came through in the clutch. His 4 field goals proved to be the difference in the game, as an inspired effort resulted in the world champions going back across country with a loss. The final score was Raiders 12, Dolphins 7. After the first 2 weeks of the season, the Raiders had already played the 2 teams that would eventually wind up playing in the Super Bowl just 4 months later. But the road didn't get any easier for these Raiders. Week 3 saw them travel to Kansas City to face their hated rival, the Chiefs. It was the first of 5 straight grueling road games. Clarence Davis ripped off a 76-yard kickoff return, but the Raiders only came away with 3 points. The Chiefs only managed 3 field goals themselves, as the punts of Ray Guy kept the Kansas City offense starting from deep in their own territory. The Raider defense held its ground and inflicted punishment. However, so did their competition. Trailing 9-3 deep in the game and deep in their own territory, a deflected Ken Stabler pass resulted in an interception by Kansas City linebacker Willie Lanier, who returned it 17 yards for the game-clinching touchdown. With the 16-3 loss, the Raiders were now 1-2 and still faced 4 straight road games. Toward the end of the game, Ken Stabler was sent in to finish up, and he was not happy about it. Afterwards, he went to John Madden and expressed his displeasure. He told Madden that he couldn't be counted on to be the mop-up man any longer, and that he could handle the starting job all on his own. Madden didn't instantly commit to the snake, but he did say that when the decision was made to finally turn to him, there would be no turning back. Deep down, though, Madden knew what he needed to do in order to maintain the trust of his young quarterback, even as the confidence the team had in the veteran LaMonica was starting to slip away. Darryl was Al's guy. Kenny was John's guy. Who would win this battle? The answer to the question began to formulate the next week in St. Louis. The Silver and Black faced soaring temperatures, a searing AstroTurf surface, and an explosive Cardinals offense. Forced to wear their black uniforms amid the heat, the Raider attack was now led by Ken Stabler, wearing a smiley face sticker on the front of his helmet, and he led the offense to over 450 total yards, 18 first downs on the ground, and 32 total, culminating in Marv Hubbard blasting across from the 1 to give the Raiders a 17-10 victory, and the first successful step on their long swing away from home. In the game, the Raiders angrily pounded the high-flying Birds, holding them to just 10 points. Quarterback Jim Hart was sacked 5 times, and the Raiders forced 4 fumbles, even though the Cardinals got the ball back each time. Still, the pressure was relentless. More importantly, a new leader was firmly entrenched going forward at the quarterback spot. Facing their division rivals next, the San Diego Chargers, Oakland turned opportunistic. The Raiders doubled the output of the hometown Chargers on the ground and matched them in the aerial attack. The big difference in this game, though, was the fact that the hosts turned the ball over 4 times to the Silver and Black, and the Raiders took advantage, coming from behind 3 times before finally forging a 27-17 victory. Ken Stabler was sacked 3 times, but he hung in there for an efficient 99.2 passer rating with 2 touchdown throws. The Raiders now had a record of 3-2, and they had just a little bit of breathing room. The next week saw the Raiders take on another division rival, the Denver Broncos, on a Monday night in the Mile High City. George Blanda became the first player in NFL history to kick his 300th field goal, but Oakland had to fight to overcome deficits on 3 separate occasions before finally notching a 49-yard field goal, Blanda once again, to stake them to a 23-20 lead. However, costly mistakes, including 3 fumbles, one of which was returned 80 yards for a touchdown, and a late drive allowed by the defense at the end of the game, resulted in a 23-23 tie. The Raiders' record now stood at 3-2-1, and the season was once again teetering on the brink. Now they had to travel cross-country to Baltimore, a place where they had yet to find success. In Baltimore, they lined up against a familiar face, former Raider tight end Raymond Chester, who was now a Colt. He had come over in the deal that sent defensive end Bubba Smith to Oakland. In the game, Ken Stabler, playing cool with a happy face sticker back on the helmet, masterfully displayed his precision passing, connecting on 25 of 29 of his tosses to set an all-time NFL completion percentage record. With the Colts secondary preoccupied by Stabler's prowess, Clarence Davis rolled behind Gene Upshaw for 2 scores as Oakland claimed a commanding 34-21 victory. Having finished their 5th straight week on the road, they were finally coming home to Oakland. The Bay Area was abuzz with the championship fervor. The A's had just claimed their 2nd World Series championship in a row over the New York Mets, and New York was back in town, although now it was the football giants playing the Raiders for the first time ever. With a 40th consecutive sellout crowd at the Alameda Coliseum, the home team showed no mercy against an opponent that was thoroughly dominated from the outset. This time, LaMonica came in late to mop up. He only threw 5 passes and had 2 completions, but one was a 34-yard touchdown pass to Steve Sweeney, the last of 6 Raider touchdowns, and a 42-0 whitewashing of the New Yorkers, raising Oakland's record to 5-2-1. Against the playoff-bound Pittsburgh Steelers, a team the Raiders last saw in the ill-fated Immaculate Reception game the previous December, the Silver and Black were plagued by 11 penalties and 5 costly turnovers. Plus, starter Ken Stabler suffered a knee injury. Behind LaMonica, Oakland ran and passed for nearly 400 yards against a tough Steeler defense. But despite the yardage, LaMonica threw 4 interceptions, and Oakland could only manage to put up a touchdown and a field goal, as the Raiders suffered their third defeat of the 1973 season by a score of 17-9. Things didn't get much better the next week against Cleveland. Stabler was back in the lineup, but he only completed a little over half of his passes. The ground game was halted, Stabler was sacked 5 times, and the Raider offense only put up 172 yards in total offense and 3 points. The defense only gave up 7, but the loss dropped the Raiders to third place in their division with only 4 games left to play. In Week 11, the Oakland Raiders were at home and in a must-win situation against division rival San Diego. In the first quarter, George Atkinson scooped up a fumble and ran 59 yards for the opening score, and the Raiders were off to the races. The Chargers put up a field goal in the second quarter to close it to 7-3. From there, Oakland scored 24 straight points, and the Raiders buried San Diego by a score of 31-3. The next week, playing in Houston's Astrodome, Marv Hubbard rushed for 121 yards, and his late touchdown sealed the deal as the Raiders eased past the Oilers 17-6. Somehow the Raiders had battled their way back to the top in the AFC West, and now they faced their hated rivals again, the Kansas City Chiefs. This game was never in doubt, as the Raiders staked their way to a 20-0 halftime lead and cruised to an easy 37-7 win, and now set their sights on Denver in a winner-take-all divisional matchup in the last week of the season. Charlie Smith bowled over from the one to put the Raiders on top in the first quarter, and they never trailed in the game. A late touchdown by the Broncos closed the final margin to 21-17, but in the end, the Raiders had triumphed, and they had also notched their 6th Western Division title in 7 years. Now, with the Division won, Oakland hosted its nemesis, the Pittsburgh Steelers, almost a year to the day after the epic playoff defeat that still haunted many of the players and coaches. 3 George Blanda field goals and a touchdown run by Marv Hubbard had the Raiders hanging on to a 16-7 lead in the third quarter. Then, Willie Brown picked off Terry Bradshaw and returned it 54 yards for the back-breaking touchdown. Pittsburgh and Oakland exchanged touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but the damage had been done. Oakland had defeated the Steelers convincingly, 33-14. They now went to Miami to face the defending Super Bowl champions in the AFC title game. 14 weeks after breaking Miami's 18-game consecutive win streak, the Dolphins were still trying to preserve a 23-game win streak at home in the Orange Bowl, the site of Oakland's Super Bowl defeat 6 seasons earlier. Miami's offensive line controlled the line of scrimmage, and Larry Zonka plowed into the end zone once during the first quarter and once again in the second quarter. The Dolphins went to the locker room at halftime, leading 14-0. In the third quarter, the teams traded field goals. Then the Raiders closed the gap to 17-10 with a 25-yard touchdown pass from Stabler to Mike Siani, and there was still hope. But the Dolphins seized control of the rest of the game, rolling up a total of 266 yards on the ground, with Zonka picking up his third touchdown in the fourth quarter, and Miami went on to Super Bowl VIII to defend their title. The Oakland Raiders had once again found their way to the AFC Championship, but could go no further. Pro football's winningest team over the past 11 years, the commitment to excellence was evident. The players, coaches, and fans thirsted for more, but they would have to wait another year. A 9-4-1 record, followed by a divisional playoff victory, had them on the doorstep. But with John Madden at the helm and Al Davis pulling the organizational strings, no one doubted that the Raiders would be back. For this episode, I would like to thank Brian Burwell and his book Madden, also the now familiar resources of Mike Siani and Christine Setting-Clark, Murray Olderman, Mark Grabowski, and NFL Films, as well as the 1973 Oakland Raiders Media Guide. I would like to also thank my producer, Heidi Stabber. You can catch me and Heidi together with Raider Homer on the Only Nation podcast as we cover the Raiders both past and present. As for this Raider Roots podcast, you can go onto my YouTube channel, T3 Sports Guy, and subscribe. Catch all the previous episodes and give me your feedback. In our next episode, we'll take a look at the year 1974 as the Raiders inch ever closer to that elusive world championship. Until then, this is T3 reminding you that passion always outlives fashion. And I want to wish for you a bright silver moon shining in the dark black night. Take care, everybody.